did I say 100,000 people around the country. So we can reach out to larger audiences with these local events, and perhaps most importantly, we can expand even further through the electronic platforms that I was suggesting. Project Noah, you've got to download this onto your handheld. You can actually take a photograph of a critter. I took a photograph of a moth in my own front porch, and I was able to, here's the moth. I was able to load it up to Project Noah. You can put in the identity if you know it, the notes about it, or if you don't know it, you just click the button that, help me identify this, and in a couple days I had three experts telling me, well, this is actually a sockman butterfly, a skipper butterfly, and finally its species name, and it was a male, Alopetes campestris. And I was given a link, and I could go to Bug Guide, and I could see the moth, and I could compare it to my own, and I could even go further into Encyclopedia of Life, and there see 59 images of the same species, learn more. The fact is, with the name, with just an image sometimes, the Encyclopedia of Life opens and you can become informed in a way that opens doors. So this is a very exciting new potential avenue for people to celebrate and learn about biodiversity. And not only can you take the pictures, but now at Syracuse University there's a new game that's in trial. And you can actually go to citizensort.org and play the moths game. They have sharks unit as well. And they actually challenge you to follow the algorithms of the taxonomists have given them to sort moth photographs. And so basically, citizen scientists can sort for the scientific community. They can dive into the sorted photos and actually find out who are the outliers, what are the range extensions, is there an invasive? All these questions can now be generated through these game platforms that really are fun to play. So what do we do with this? It's really building. I'm excited about doing it in a big way, so I'm planning next September 2013, for a week, we're going to have a global backyard BioBlitz. And the idea is that people will go out around the world and they'll compete with us to have a Guinness Book of World Records event that will maximize the number of sightings and observers on the planet. Dead simple. You only need a camera and a computer. You don't need to have a handheld. Upload an image. If everybody does it, and this includes in the water, Sylvia, you can basically get the world energized by just looking. What is it? And think, that's not just a backyard, that's a flowing living system. So if you all want to join me on this as sponsors, partners, disseminators of this opportunity, it's in its early stages, and I welcome you to help us make this BioBlitz as powerful as it can be. Thank you. And now I get to introduce our next speaker, John Liu. Just gotten to know John, and he has a wonderful presentation communicating the potential of restoration ecology via broadcasting in East Africa through social media worldwide.
Thanks very much. Hello. So please begin. And I'll tell you that we're going to take a small journey. And it's the journey that I've taken now over the last 18 years. We need audio too. Yeah. Okay. Not too much. Yeah. So 18 years ago, I was asked by the World Bank to begin to document the rehabilitation of China's Lus Plateau, which is the cradle of Chinese civilization. And this is what I found in 1995. It was a fully degraded ecosystem. And it was astonishing to me that the largest ethnic group on the planet could have come from a completely destroyed ecosystem. And personally, at that time I had been a journalist for many years, I didn't understand how this was possible, and I didn't understand the dynamics of what was taking place or anything about it, and I began to study. And I learned that what had happened was that the people had cut the trees. And when the trees were gone, they had tried to do slope farming on the hillsides. And when that had depleted all the fertility, they free-ranged goats and sheep. until there was no more vegetation left. And essentially, this place, which was at one time the richest place, the Han, the Qin, the Tang dynasties were all based here. And if you dig around, you'll find terracotta warriors in this kind of thing, and huge civilization emerged, but they destroyed their ecosystem. And it led to a cycle of poverty and ecological destruction. And also a cycle of flooding, followed by drought, followed by famine. And as I began to understand this, I found that there are certain physical and biophysical things that we need to understand. I know that a lot of people understand this here. So it's essentially, to me, it's come down to biomass, biodiversity, and organic materials. And I started to think about this, and I also found that we could really understand what was taking place. What was lost was the hydrological cycle. So without biomass and without organic matter in the soil, we were turning the water into a kinetic force instead of a nurturing force. And we were losing the microclimates below the canopy. And this has happened all over the world, over historical time. And I began to find that actually, I think this is like our responsibility. This is the duty of all the human beings who are alive today to understand this and to change this process. And gradually I found that it wasn't China. This was the whole world. All the cradles of civilization had done the same thing. And over the course of a number of years, I followed the work of the Chinese in planning. They used GIS to map everything. And they came up with a plan to differentiate and designate ecological and economic land. And they ended up reducing the area in cultivation and releasing large areas to nature. They engaged the local population through participatory mechanisms so that they would be the engines of this. They built dams to infiltrate and retain rainfall. They terraced large areas for agriculture. And they planted huge, huge numbers of trees. I heard a figure from Al Gore. I'm not sure if he's the best source, but I know his source was the State Forestry Administration. And it says that they planted 56 billion trees since 1978, which is 2.5 times more than the rest of the world combined. Now, if you start to understand biodiversity, biomass, and accumulated organic matter, and you think that, okay, if we're going to have sustainability, we're going to have these things, and you realize that they're 2.5 times greater in China at doing this than the rest of the world combined, it's rather interesting. So gradually, we came to a conclusion. Now, this is 1995 when the project began. And they were able to have what I think is a transformational change. So by reducing the area in cultivation, they could increase production. And by releasing areas to nature, they were able to increase biodiversity, fertility, and infiltration and retention of rainfall, and to protect biodiversity into long areas, long periods. And it was the restoration of the natural vegetation which allowed the agriculture to develop. So I was struck, and this has obsessed me now, and that's all I do. And now I've been to many countries around the world. I would say that what we saw in China tells us that there's a possibility of a paradigm shift. Now, this is in, I hope the audio is up.
Many things that I've seen in Rwanda
remind me of some of the things that I've seen in China. The Chinese government was asking this generation and all the generations alive today to change the course of human history, to take those the denuded landscape that they had and somehow alter this. So I'll just tell you, Rwanda rewrote their land use policy laws in 2006. They have 8.2% economic growth in a global recession. They have food security while there's famine in the region, and they've returned about 85% of their hydrological resources in the higher wetlands.
There are many reasons to beat the drum loud.
Which is critically important because they're the headwaters of the White Nile and the Congo rivers. These are examples of films in a series that we call What If We Change?
A line in the sand.
We also have whatifwechange.org, which is a multimedia interactive site. These are the sponsors. We're keen to work with everyone on this. We're beginning to broadcast in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, Zambia, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. And we hope to translate into French for West Africa, Spanish for South America, and Arabic for the Middle East, and we'll see where we go from there. And if we can do this, if we can do restoration, I've now been to 80 countries around the world, and I find that the principles of ecology are the same. We need to protect biodiversity, biomass, and accumulated organic matter. Almost nothing else really matters. And everywhere in every country, this provides jobs. This provides a methodology for returning what we need for air, water, food, and energy. And that it's completely doable. But we're not engaged in this. We're distracted by other things. And I think I love digital technology, but we don't have a digital problem. We have a physical problem to disruption, to biodiversity, to biomass, and to accumulated organic matter. And that's what we're going to have to do. And these are the people around the world in every continent who are focusing on this issue. We need to take that also to young people around the world so that they're doing this. We hope that you will all take this, learn about this program, take this program so that it can be on your television stations around the world, and you can see what's happening in China, in Rwanda, in Ecuador, in Bolivia, in Mexico, in Mali, in Ghana, and around the world. And all those degraded areas we've identified through WRI and Lars back there, 2 billion hectares around the world that can be restored. So if we restore this, we know that if we do this work, we are mitigating and adapting to climate change, we are combating desertification, we're increasing food security, and we're ensuring a sustainable future for the planet. So I think images have been very important for me, and I believe this is the best way to communicate around the world. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. That's a compelling story, and hopefully we'll be able to do something with it at National Geographic. One of my accomplishments there is the next speaker, Joel Sartori. He's going to be telling you about cutting through the noise, being heard in the age of distraction.
John, that's awesome. It's really awesome.
Thank you. Really is.
It's very hopeful. At a time when we don't have a lot to be hopeful about, we think. Speaking of not hopeful, this ran on the cover of the Geographic. We watched 4 months the oil spilling into the Gulf, didn't we? At one point we saw a live picture on CNN of the pipe spewing crap into the environment 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. 4 months we watched this. Did this change anything? No. Why? Because it didn't cost anybody any money, really. It cost BP, who cares? Didn't cost us. The price didn't go up at the pump. If something that dramatic that's broadcast into our homes 24 hours a day doesn't matter, what will? I don't know. It's my job to figure that out. As a communicator, a visual communicator, conservationist, geographic, my job is to hook our 30 million readers and get them involved. Whether it's koalas, suck them in with the cute pictures, whatever it takes really. A guy dresses up as a koala, I don't know, why not? To show our readers this, I trick them. I show them the pretty stuff, the eye candy, and then I suck them in and I get them to pay attention to this. Why is a picture of a golf course fairway important enough to run in the geographic? Well, in the context of a koala story, that's it for the habitat north of Brisbane. That's it. If the koala tries to leave, that's bad. He's going to get hit by a car. If he doesn't, he's going to get chewed up by a dog. We do all these pictures in order to deliver a message, I guess, something compelling. What do we have to do to get people to pay attention? The koala wasn't even listed as imperiled by the government of Australia when we did the story. Is to do this. Before I even leave the house, I know I'm going to do this. Because I've already been talking to people for a long time. There's 1 week's worth of dead koalas at one clinic that cared enough to smuggle them out at night so we could get pictures, to shock and outrage people. The mother and baby there, they were killed by a dog. Most of them hit by cars. Pathetic. Well, the government of Australia has now said, okay, the koala is imperiled in Queensland. Well, that's great. Let's see if that matters. I don't know. It's a race. It is a total sprint right now between people like us at this conference and everything else. Turbine fields, wind is clean. We want to know whether something's good or bad. We're cued all our lives to understand whether somebody's a villain or a hero. We want the bad guy at the end of the TV show or the movie to get killed. We know he's horrible. Is wind good or bad? Depends. If you're a bird or you're a bat and you come across 1,000 turbine field, 32 bats and 5 birds a year on average per turbine, kill. Don't we need birds and bats? I think so. So when I do these stories for the geographic, I'm always thinking, okay, what can I do to elevate the discussion to get people to look? I have a big audience, 30 million people. I set up camera traps a lot now. I want to show in a story on migrations how fences can impact pronghorn antelope. We ran this camera trap setup for months. Geographic's the last publication that really allows us the time we need to do things right. We got coyotes, we got deer, and we got, most of all, we got about 10,550 pictures of tumbleweeds. Anytime something moves in front of that camera trap, we got beautiful movies of tumbleweeds. But it took a long time to bring this to you, to bring this to our readers, to show that fencing, if you raise the bottom strand up and make it smooth strand instead of barbed wire, okay, now we're talking. This is news you can use for pronghorn. Hopefully that helps. Then we go on to the border wall. Here's a really big fence. Again, camera traps are used. And we talk about how something that's largely political is blocking migrations. We try to do this in a very simple way. Sometimes it's just pure eye candy to get people to be drawn in. 6 birds from 6 inches away in the wild, kind of looking like John James Audubon would have painted them. That's the goal. 6 birds from 6 inches away. Okay? Does that make the magazine? No. Very few of these pictures make the magazine. Snakes, we want to do snakes. Snakes migrate, and roads are bad for reptiles and amphibians, let me tell you. Roads are hard on them. So what do we do to get people to stop and care about snakes? We're all afraid of snakes. Well, in this case, I decided to do a little stop action movie using about 20,000 pictures in a minute and a half. Here we go. We need volume, please. Do you have volume sound? That'd be really good. Some creepy, exotic music going here to set the tone. So these are all stills of a rattlesnake roundup in Oklahoma. Beautiful. So is this good or bad? What do you think? I'm not telling you whether it's good or bad. Is it good or bad to take all the snakes out of an area and butcher them? I don't know. What do you think? Try to be real careful with the music and not pick something that was too evil or clown-like. There's nothing funny about it. And the guys that run the festival inside this tent, they're saying the entire time, look, snakes are beneficial. Don't kill snakes. They eat mice and rats. The same guys also say, look, we saved our town at this festival, and there's plenty of snakes still. There's plenty. It's a slow to reproduce animal. Is it good? I don't know. I don't know. But you know, since I've made this film 2 years ago, the world's attention span has gotten shorter. They won't watch something that's 2 minutes long. They'll watch something 60 seconds long. It's going to go to 30 pretty soon, 15 even. They just will not sit still. So we have an attention deficit disorder society that's growing at magnitudes that I can't even fathom. I was wondering whether to even show it to you guys today. It's 2 minutes long. Should I use 2 of my 10 minutes to show you this? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Does this read? Would somebody sit through this whole thing now? If I were to make this film again, I would cut it in half. I would make it 70 seconds, the whole thing. And I'd include this scene, because this is what draws them into the tent. The goal is to just draw people in the tent. The butcher shop, the snake squirming around, absolutely. You want kids to watch it, you show them that. That's how it is. It's got to move, it's got to be amazing or surprising. What do we do when we run out of surprises? The surprises can be, they're going to be all bad eventually, bad surprises. This is a look at the Albertine Rift of Uganda. Again, we spend a lot of time bringing this to people. Cape buffalo wandering around in the mineral scum on the surface of a volcanic lake.